Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Balabha Girivara Dhari Girivara Dhari Gopi Jana Balabha Girivara Dhari Girivardhari Jatshodanandana Brajajanaranjana Jasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Brajajanaran Yamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachadi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayom Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Parivajagacharya Astatara Satasi Simad His Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnavadinda Ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Gaura Premanandi. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Well, by now everybody knows Canto 10, Chapter 14, Brahma's prayers, and we're at the point where Brahma has completed his request for being forgiven by Krishna, and now he's describing further reasons why it's nice if Krishna forgives him. That is, he's very small, like a small child. Krishna is supreme, and Krishna should, recognizing his smallness and his greatness, show him his mercy. He doesn't say that explicitly, but that's the Acharya's explanation of the intention behind his words. So here's text 11 from chapter 14. What am I, a small creature measuring 7 spans of my own hand? I am enclosed in a pot-like universe composed of material nature, the total material energy, false ego, ether, air, water, and earth. And what is your glory? Unlimited universes pass through the pores of your body, just as particles of dust pass through the openings of a screened window, which tells us that during this time they had screen windows too, not just a new creation. Jiva Goswami's commentary. Brahma's praying, I am insignificant. I cannot make you, such a great person, forgive me, since I am very different from you, who pervade the spiritual and material realms as Vasudeva, although I am the Lord of the material world. Unquote. He praises Krishna as Mahavishnu in order to say this. The universe is compared to a pot because in a short time it will be destroyed. Brahma, just 7 hands high, is an insignificant person. Mahavishnu is 9 hands in height. No, this question came up yesterday. What is the 7? And now here's 9, and there was another, it was 3. And if somebody out there in the universe of listeners understands about all of this, you can please suggest what it means. The universes pass through his pores, coming out or going in when he creates or destroys the universes. Idrik vidha. The pores are very small and limiting, but in them all the universe reside. Should be universes reside. Quoting Vishnu Purana, gives the Sanskrit. The Shakti of Vishnu is situated in a 10 millionth portion of a portion of Vishnu, from Vishnu Purana. Again, the Shakti of Vishnu is situated in a 10 millionth portion of a portion of Vishnu. So the Shakti of Vishnu is within Vishnu, and the Shakti of Vishnu is situated within a small portion of his totality. This is your glory, Mahitvam, Mahitvam. Therefore you should show mercy to me. That's the understanding. I'm small, you're big, you're unlimitedly big, and one of your glories is you're very merciful, so please be merciful to me, because I'm very small and you're very big. Krishna to Balaram. This is Sanatan Goswami, very short. Krishna to Balaram. How can I, who am so insignificant, forgive you who are so great? Reply. The universe is like a pot, insignificant compared to the Lord's glory. What is your greatness? Exclamation point. Therefore you should forgive me. The emphasis, Krishna's humble. Well, I'm just a little boy. Why you're the greatest scholar in the universe. Why are you asking me for forgiveness? This isn't right. No, your mahima, your glories are without limit. What is there that I have that can compare to your glories? So yes, it's a fact. You are the greatest, and glory is part of your greatness. Please, therefore, forgive me. In his Krama Sandarbha, Jiva Goswami writes, what am I, a small creature measuring 7 spans of my own hand, enclosed in a pot-like universe, composed of material nature, total material energy, false ego, ether, air, fire, water, and earth? And what is your glory when unlimited universes pass through the pores of your body, just as particles of dust pass through the opening of a screened window when you create and destroy? Brahma praises Krishna as the first Purusha. There's a sequence to this. We're getting Krishna Tattva within his prayers, because Krishna is within Krishna is everything. So Krishna is everything. Topmost of his Shaktis is his mercy, Kripa Shakti. So Brahma is very eager for his Kripa Shakti. Mother Tasoda was also very eager for Krishna's Kripa Shakti, but she went about it in a very different way. Next text, number 12. Translation. Oh, Lord Adhokshaja, does a mother take offense when the child within her womb kicks with his legs? Is there anything in existence, whether designated by various philosophers as real or as unreal, that is actually outside your abdomen? This is Garbhodakshay Vishnu, by the way. The BBT commentary or purport reads, Srila Prabhupada comments as follows on this verse in Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, chapter 14, quote, Lord Brahma therefore compared himself to a little child within the womb of his mother. If the child within the womb plays with his hands and legs, and while playing touches the body of the mother, is the mother offended with the child? Of course she isn't. Similarly, Lord Brahma may be a very great personality, and yet not only Brahma, but everyone that be is existing within the womb of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord's energy is all-pervading, colon. There is no place in the creation where he is not acting. Since everything is existing within the energy of the Lord, the Brahma of this universe, or the Brahmas of many other millions and trillions of universes, are existing within the energy of the Lord. Therefore, the Lord is considered to be the mother. And everything existing within the womb of the mother is considered to be the child. And the good mother is never offended with the child, even if he touches the body of the mother by kicking his legs. Unquote. So that's it for this morning. That's it for the BBT commentary. And the evening session will go on to the Vishwanath Chakravarti and the others. Let's step back a bit. We've been, during the month of Kartik, we heard the Damodar Leela. During the Thanksgiving holiday, we heard the Putana Leela. And repeatedly we were hearing from both of them the distinction that is very, very special about the Brijbasis, and that is the emphasis on their attraction for the sweetness of Krishna in Vrindavan, and the strength of that attraction for his sweetness in Vrindavan is so profound, they don't even process the unlimited potency aspect. Although he exhibits it, they don't regard it. And then there are those that are pure devotees of Krishna outside of Vrindavan, and they have differing degrees of the sweetness, and they also have a very clear, some more than others, but very clear sense of Krishna's omnipotence. Brahma is one of them, and it's a long list. Persons that visit Vrindavan that are not Brijbasis, they honor the opulent feature of Krishna, and they marvel at the sweetness feature of Krishna. And those of us who are sadhakas, that's all of us, we know that the gift of Lord Chaitanya is to enter help us, invite us to enter into Braja Prem. But to get to Braja Prem, we must first understand Krishna Tattva. And Krishna Tattva includes both of these. The opulence feature and the sweetness feature. While regarding the opulence feature in different ways, because that's part of Krishna Tattva, we also honor and appreciate the special position of the sweetness feature, especially as is experienced by the residents of Vrindavan. So later in his prayers, Brahma is going to speak as many those who are outside of Vrindavan speak about the very special love of the residents of Vrindavan and how fortunate they are to have that particular kind of love. Maharishi Pariksit speaks about this, Shukadeva Goswami speaks about it, Uddhava, when he visits Vrindavan, speaks about it, Akrura, when he visits Vrindavan, speaks about it, Narada Muni, when he visits Vrindavan, speaks about it, and they all speak about it. The very, very special kind of love of the residents of Vrindavan. And while doing so, they also express his opulent feature, because that's part of their makeup of their love for Krishna. It's not that you have to not know Krishna's opulence in order to become a pure devotee. You can't be a pure devotee unless you're a Brijvasi. That's not the case. But the very, very, very special mercy given to the resident of Vrindavan that is not awarded in the same way to those who are outside of Vrindavan. All of that list of pure devotees of the Lord. I mean, Narada Muni is a Shaktivesh avatar, and Akrura achieved perfection through prayer, and Uddhava is the dearmost of Krishna outside of Vrindavan. He heard Uddhava Gita, very elevated subject. So it's not to diminish in any way those who are pure devotees. That would be a big mistake. That'd be offense. So we don't do that. We don't make offense. But we do want to understand Krishna Tattva. And we want to understand what the Bhagavatam is conveying. So Brahma is giving us Krishna Tattva in very interesting ways. Through prayer. He's Mahavishnu, he's Garbhodakshay Vishnu. He's the Supreme Lord in all respects. His opulences, that was a curiosity. He understands they're unlimited. Who can pass universes through the pore of their skin? How big is Mahavishnu to have universes pass through the pore of his skin? Exhaling and inhaling. And how long is his exhaling and inhaling? Who can exhale and inhale that long? If one accepts the authority of the Vedas, and specifically here the authority of the Bhagavatam, the Supreme Lord can do that. And that's the basis of creation. When I read the pot-like metaphor that Brahma is using, I thought of a pot in the sense that it's hollow in the center and it's got this, hard shell on the outside. And that doesn't mean that's not a right understanding, but the emphasis here is it's temporary. Pots are temporary. Particularly clay pots, but even metal pots, they're also temporary. Whatever is of this world is temporary. And he is in this temporary realm, thinking himself great, when in comparison to Krishna, it's just impudence to think that he's great. Very foolish. And that's his foolishness. With his foolishness to thinking he is great, and with his impetus, challenging Krishna with his own mystic powers, trying to cover the source of Maya with his own little Maya. really impudent, childish. Krishna is hearing all this. We heard yesterday, Krishna is honoring Brahma. Oh, he's so devoted to me. Let me give him my mercy. Now, the mercy that he's going to get is being reinstated in his position as Brahma without further, he doesn't go to jail or something. He's being reinstated in his position. Moreover, his curiosity has been satisfied, and he's seeing the original form of Krishna, which is again stimulating all that he knows about Krishna Tattva and expressing that before Krishna. The Vedas are filled with such glorifications. We hear at the end of all of this, Krishna doesn't say anything. He's more attracted by the love of the residents of Vrindavan, like the cowherd boys, than the exalted prayers of personified Vedas chanted again and again. It doesn't mean we don't chant personified Vedas or glorify Krishna by Vedic mantras and Vedic recitation. Krishna is pleased. Krishna is pleased when we read Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is pleased when we speak Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is superlatively pleased when he exchanges with loving dealings with the residents of Vrindavan. And we have to be qualified to be able to associate with the residents of Vrindavan. And by that association, one can be qualified like they're qualified. And the best way to do that, going back to text 3, is singularly dedicating ourselves to the topics of Krishna. The name of Krishna, the qualities of Krishna, the pastimes of Krishna, just like we're doing here. That's what we do from our sadhana position. We're looking at Krishna Tattva in the ways that those that are not residents of Vrindavan look at Krishna Tattva, in their superlative view of Krishna Tattva. One other point is, in this text 12, Brahma is addressing Krishna as Adhoksaja. And you may remember we spent a lot of time on the word Adhoksaja. Adhoksaja, in a very straightforward manner, is he's beyond these senses, for he cannot be perceived with material senses. He's beyond the mind, he's beyond the senses, he's beyond the range to see or detect or to understand. Thus, Adhoksaja. But he is perceivable not through these senses. So that's the term that's being used here by Brahma. Seeing this 5-year-old boy as being like the mother for the living entity within the mother's womb, and Brahma likening himself to that small child, and Krishna to the mother or the mother's womb. But the mother's womb, that's a chamber where ingredients are supplied for development of the body. So he's speaking to Krishna like that. Who can see the mother of all living entities, not just Brahma, but all living entities, everything that philosophers feel is real or unreal is inside Krishna's abdomen, because everything is in Krishna's abdomen. Like Krishna's showing the universal form to Mother Yasoda. Same idea. And when she looked inside, she didn't just see stars and planets and things. She saw everything. She saw hills and rivers and oceans and the elements and, the whole, everything. 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 That's what's within Krishna, everything and everyone. And before each universe worth of living entities, Garbhodakshay Vishnu has within his abdomen. Before the stem comes out of the abdomen, produces the lotus flower, and then Brahma, and then the living entities filling up that. The universes, the planets, this is fascinating. The planets are within the stem. So artists depict the stem as this kind of slender stem. But actually, the stem is quite large, because everything that's within the universe is within the stem. The uppermost on the stem is Brahmaloka, and all the planets below Brahmaloka are within the stem. So if you're an artist, how are you going to depict that? By showing the expanse of the whole universe. You do it like it says, it's a stem. And then it gets into this whole thing, how do you understand the stem? That was one of Snehavali's questions. It's got to be material, because how do you make things manifest without matter? Whatever it is, inspired by the sum total karma of living entities, all the universes, all the planets within the universe are within that stem. So it's a really big stem. And Brahma is really big too. At the top of the stem, on the lotus flower at the top of the stem. The language of all of this requires mind-expanding concepts of space and time. Say it the opposite. Using the framework of space and time as we know it, we hit a wall. Because it doesn't measure according to space and time as we know it. We have to get out of that box into space and time as Brahma knows it, which is not like we know it. For example, his one moment was a whole year on Earth. So putting that in a parking lot for now, because we don't have the capacity to think of space and time beyond our experience, we should just know that it's beyond our experience. And as our Krishna consciousness becomes stronger and Krishna Tattva becomes better understood, and specifically this topic of the structure of the universe, Virat Roop or Vedic cosmology and all of those things that are really, really high and puzzling. The capacity to understand those things becomes more possible as our core Krishna consciousness expands. And then when that sound vibration comes, we're able to contemplate beyond our time and space limitations. Enough on that topic. Let's see if there's some discussion. It's 8 o'clock.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. My question is, after Brahma got the mercy of the Lord, so he got reinstated his position as Brahma again.
Yes.
In our case, we get sometimes, mercy of the devotees or the Lord. So, after some time, again we get into the normal state of life. Maybe it is always possible to forget that mercy and continue with our activities. Because that is a unique thing. Getting the mercy of the Lord or the devotees. How does? Because in the case of Brahma, I'm sure at the end of his life he will go back to Godhead because the kind of mercy he got it. Is it possible to lose that power of mercy by the time?
For us or for Brahma?
For us. Yeah.
Oh, sure. It's not permanently lost, but we can check out. We can desist. Is it possible to desist? Sure. If we desist, we're losing the mercy.
You mentioned it's not permanently lost.
Yeah. It's a spiritual progress is permanently with you. But it can be, covered. Not a problem. You understand that, right?
So my other question, Maharaj, when I have some bad tendencies or bad qualities, sometimes it is, very difficult to give them up. It's not easy. And by acting on that and then, why did I do that? And then again, pray to the Lord, asking for forgiveness or asking for, help to
Yes.
get out of it.
Yes.
But then again, after some time, it becomes like, not a routine, but sometimes we get the help, but the tendencies might reduce. But again, after some time, giving up that, saying that, okay, I cannot do this. Right? It's out of my thing, and then it goes on. And then maybe one day I will be able to get out of it.
I'm listening.
Yeah, so is that the, praying is the right thing, I understand, but is that praying because of our bad qualities again and again, is that kind of, what I want to say, is that kind of, not complaining, putting our complaint box, or is it something, is it okay or not? One is the praying, the other one is actually like, okay, I cannot do this anyway. So I will, one day maybe I'll be able to do it at a later stage. What should I?
Your question is not articulated clearly, but I think what you're asking is, should we continue offering prayers even though we're in the stage of unsteady bhakti? And the answer is yes. Let's just, because another option is just shrug my shoulders, complacency, and saying, that's where I am, and I'm not going to try to overcome it. I'm not going to make that endeavor, nor am I going to call to Krishna for his mercy to overcome it. That's not advisable. Unsteady bhakti is the former. I acknowledge this is my situation. I'm striving, I'm calling for mercy, and the habit is continuing. The undesirable, quality or habit or whatever is continuing. Let me continue to strive. Let me continue to pray. That's recommended.
In my case, both goes kind of thing. Sometimes I pray, sometimes.
Well, that's part of unsteady bhakti also. They're just, an earlier stage than the more advanced stage of unsteady bhakti. Continuing to strive. This word sankalpa, again, we touched on it, intention. It is also translated as determination. Prabhupada, word for word, translates sankalpa as determination. So, when there is dridha vrata, or it's very strong determination, then you're more likely to achieve the desired goal than if you don't exercise that same determination, even in the process of unsteadiness, or the stage of unsteadiness. And there can be unsteadiness in praying and striving too. Okay. Anything back there? Yes?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, the lotus coming out of Vishnu and Brahma on it, I mean, we've just kind of grown up accepting it. But your description of the universe within the stem.
The planets within the universe.
The planets in the universe within the stem. I mean, that just seems so...
mind-blowing.
Yeah. It's like... And the material universe, the material world being within, being 1/4 of the entire creation, and like a coconut is what we've learned. It's like a coconut where,
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like, how
Science
do we
fiction
even
or something?
Yeah, almost that's, yeah. It's like, how do we understand? I mean, do I even need to understand? That's my thought.
There's one devotee who has PhD in something or other from Stanford University, did a very elaborate description of Vedic cosmology, which one of the starting points of his whole presentation is he uses this language, conceptual space. Now, I don't want to do the whole thing. It's very lengthy. But it's another dimension besides time and space as we know it. It's conceptual space. And the language of Vedic cosmology is conceptual space. It doesn't mean it's imaginary. It exists. But it's conceptual, and it exists. So he didn't get into, the stem is as wide as the hollow of the universe is wide. He doesn't say like that. It's more conceptual. In Vedic cosmology, we know this, there's 14 planetary systems. And the topmost of that is Brahmaloka, that's this lotus flower. And then there's the stem below the lotus flower, and that's where the other 13 planetary systems are situated. And then it gets more subtle. The hellish planets are below those 7 lower planetary systems. And it takes up very little space just above the Garbhodak Ocean. In between the Garbhodak Ocean and the 14 planetary systems are the hellish planets. And there's millions of them. There's some number of them described at the end of the 5th canto, the very last chapter. But where this is at the bottom, just above the Garbhodak Ocean. So, how you can make a drawing. They are drawings of all of that. But it's hard for an artist to depict it as it's described in the Bhagavatam, because, does it match what we see? We don't see those things. We don't see a stem. We don't see the lower planetary systems. We see what we see. And what we see exists, but where does what we see exist in terms of Vedic cosmology, or what this language of conceptual space? We don't see Bhumandala. We see, with Hubble telescopes and so forth, we see an Earth globe. So where's the Earth globe in Bhumandala, the conceptual cosmology? Well, it gets really involved. You have to be a very patient, good listener, and ready to not be just to close your eyes and imagine stuff, but try to hear from the authority of the Bhagavatam, because it's true. With that faith that it's true, how do you picture it? Well, in a mind that has a certain sense of space and time, you can't. With this material mind, so how do you get to the spiritual mind? Through sound. It's a challenge to see things the way that Shukadeva Goswami sees things, or the way that Vyasadeva sees things, or the way that those who see the universal form see things. We don't see the universal form. We see what we see with our limit. We acknowledge the mind and the senses, Pratyaksha and Anuman, they're defective, but we rely on them all the time. That's our conception of what is, the reality. And then there's the Vedic conception that's based on Shabda, that has a different model than the mind and the senses. It's an hokshaja, beyond the mind and the senses to know. So now what's an educated person in this world, how are we supposed to process all this? This devotee that did this seminar, he was PhD from Stanford University, dealing with, quantum mechanics, and in high levels of, and then coming across the Bhagavatam, and how do you match this with that? And it's not a one-to-one match. So how do you process it? This is kind of what your question is. It's a different conception that with your mind and senses you cannot see or reason exactly. We use our faculties of reason to our capacity, acknowledging it's not going to give us 100% understanding, but we need to have some kind of conception. So he speaks of this conception of conceptual space. And that's an interesting concept in itself, conceptual space. And he spends a lot of time describing it. So I haven't bought into that, the whole, I got into it for a while and kind of backed out because I had other things that were pressing on my time. But in short, we have to regard the cosmology of the universe in a different manner than the binary mind and the imperfect senses. It's conceptual, and it exists. Conceptual doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It exists. The universe exists. And the way of conceiving that universe is described in the Bhagavatam, in multiple places, and Vishnu Purana and other places, not only one place. It's mind-bending, mind-blowing. It just, short circuits the mind. It just doesn't fit. It doesn't fit. And there's many things about it, not just one thing. There's many things. The stem. Where does that fit? And there's many things that don't. It's a new concept. No, it's not that we trash science. We don't do that. So we recognize it has its limits. We don't trash the mind. We just don't expect jnane prayasa udapasya. Namandeva. We're not going to be able to understand all this by the speculative method. Just resign yourself to that fact. And then, okay, maybe I just step back and say, Haribol, I can't understand it. That's an option. But as we go along, because it takes up a major portion in several places, Canto 2, Chapter, Canto 3, Canto 5, a major section of the Bhagavatam, Sarga and Visarga, it's important. And perhaps it's an entry into getting a better picture of the transcendental form of Krishna. The transcendental aspects of Krishna that we appreciate, although we can't understand. How can he show the universe to Mother Jasoda while he's sitting in her lap, which means the universe is in her lap? Although the universe is all around her. So how does that work? It's mind-blowing. The binary processor short circuits. So now what? Namanta eva. And so we by the process of hearing, recognizing that the limits, the limitations of the process of speculation, the mind, extending and extending and extending, and see if we can encompass this understanding, we realize we can't. So we use the mind, we use our intellectual faculties, try to understand, we do that, but recognize the limitation of them. And so how does this paradigm work, the Vedic paradigm of the universe? It's a marvel. But there are those that have dedicated their entire lives. There are acharyas that have dedicated their entire lives to understand the structure of the universe according to the Vedic paradigm. And they teach it. They live it, they breathe it. It's very elevated, very subtle. But it's not wrong. It's, we can't understand it, so what do? We go on hearing and trying to understand through the process of hearing as best we can, and chant good japa.
Much more to.
Okay.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. This message of I'm being conscious of as you mentioned. This message of there can be pure devotees other than the Brajavasis. I have two-part question, Guru Maharaj. As you're mentioning, there are many, many elevated devotees who actually glorify the position of Brajavasis, but they have appreciation for the opulence or greatness feature of Krishna.
Yes.
Some of them, they do express their aspiration to be one of those Brajavasis. For example, here Lord Brahma, and we hear from Uddhava also. I just want to understand from their constitutional position, can one move from whatever their position to a Brajavasi?
Yes, Uddhava does. Yes. By the mercy of the Brajavasis. And they're eager for the mercy of the Brajavasis, so they can move. Next.
I have a second part of that question, Guru Maharaj. For us, sadhakas, when we hear these pastimes, somehow this phrase, namanta eva, it's like just very deeply touching for me. Particularly my liking for hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. I'm thinking there are certain pastimes when we hear it touches the heart more deeply, particularly Putana's pastime or Damodar Leela, like direct involvement of Brajbasis and Krishna's dealings with them, and may not be the same way with the other pastimes. So do we still, I think my question is, do we just give the same regard and reverence to both these kind of pastimes and continue hearing? Or when I have that kind of aspiration or, inspiration or that kind of touching, do I aspire to hear those pastimes more?
Both. Krishna is complete. With the faith that Krishna is complete, you hear everything. And then by hearing those pastimes, you may be, at the moment, less inspired by or inclined to hear further. Some light will come on and some further inspiration, and or the other is also fine. Let me hear this again and again. Both are fine.
At this point of time, it may be theoretical for me, Guru Maharaj, but this question is actually making me think of Raganuga stage, which may be Raganuga Bhakti stage, which may be very, very far for
Okay, that's
me.
okay.
So by these cultivation of hearing and trying to meditate on these personalities, we may actually develop such kind of appreciation.
Yeah. Give it another 40 years, and who knows where you'll be in 40 years. Which pastimes inspire you, and so don't jump. Cultivate fascination for hearing.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Lord Brahma's prayers are very inspiring.
Good.
It's churning a lot of introspection.
Good.
At the same time, I'm feeling this because I feel like I'm starting my Krishna consciousness later in life. There is this sense of urgency to try to do internal cleanup.
Good.
Yesterday in the class, you said these offenses, they arise from anarthas.
No.
Or-
Anarthas arise from offenses.
Okay. Okay, so I added I heard it the other way around. Because when I heard that, I just felt that it might be a vicious cycle. That, keep making offenses because I have so many anarthas.
No. Anarthas arise from offenses. And there's different kinds of offenses. Seva parad, Dhamma parad, Vaishnava parad, and Nama parad are principal ones. Okay? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
This question is from Tim Nash, Prabhu. Since acting under and misidentifying with the false ego is the only reason to necessitate the need for forgiveness, are we really just asking Krishna for forgiveness for this act?
We discussed this last few classes. There's the particular act, and there's the tendency, subtle tendency within that causes bad actions. So there's two different types of forgiveness. or prayer. One is prayer, please forgive me for this particular act. Another prayer is, please remove the tendency to do this and such acts like this going into the future. So different prayers are different, and different persons are in different levels of understanding and progress of their Krishna bhakti. We heard this morning, and we heard previously also, mistakes or wrongdoings, and then we want to correct those wrongdoings, and we make efforts, and it seems to be in place for a little while, and then the bungee cord goes back to where it was, and we make the same mistakes again, and that the unsteady bhakti paradigm. So that's just part of unsteadiness, in short. According to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, one of the 6 characteristics of unsteadiness is being unable or unsuccessful in overcoming shortcomings or the tendency for wrongdoings. That's an unsteadiness. So specifically, we heard this morning, continue trying to overcome that wrongdoing act and pray to Krishna for the removal, eradication of that tendency. That's what anartha is.
The second question, since Brahma is clearly prone to error to the degree that he is asking for forgiveness, is there any concern that he also made errors in architecting the universe that we live in?
That's a possibility, but he's empowered by Krishna to do a good job, so he probably did it a good job. But ask the gopis, and they said they'll say he didn't, because he made eyes that blink. He's not a good creator, because they can't. When they blink, they can't see Krishna for that much time. So he messed up.
Radha Kunja Bihari Prabhu's question. This is a very analytical question. Are the glories of the Lord eternal? If so, are the glories in existence even when the universes are withdrawn and there are no living entities to glorify and hear the glories of the Lord?
The answer is yes and yes. Because he exists eternally whether the universe is manifest or not.
Taruni Radha Mataji's questions. First one, when Brahma is requesting Krishna to accept him, why does Krishna reinstate Brahma back to his position instead of granting him association in Braja? Is it because Brahma did not explicitly mention that?
No, he could explicitly mention, but he's not qualified. And the qualification method is the Raganuga method. We've discussed this many times.
The second question, how can one go deeper in one's bhakti?
Follow nicely.
Prema Tarangini Mataji has given the description or explanation about hand span measurement.
Oh, she has?
Yeah.
Oh, let's hear it.
Hand span is the distance between one's tip of thumb and little finger when the hand is outstretched. Even according to modern research, there is a strong correlation between one's hand span and height. Few research articles show that one's height is roughly about hand span times 8 times. But also, hand span is measured in different ways. Sometimes it is measured as the distance between thumb and middle finger. In that case, the height will be more like 7 hand spans. Handspan and cubit, etc. are common Vedic ways of measuring.
if I stretch my hand out, I don't know if you're gonna. If it's 7 times, that makes my height. I don't know. But that, that's what the text says. So I don't know if it matches. Go ahead. That's it.
I just had a question, Guru Maharaj, about Purusha Sukta prayers.
About which Purusha Sukta?
These prayers are for universal form of the Lord.
They're prayers to Vishnu. He's Purusha. Just like she mentioned, the 1/4, 3/4. That's from Purusha Sukta. It's glorification of Purusha. And, Purusha does all kinds of things, including, manifesting the universe. So there's mention there, but it's about Lord Vishnu. All three Lord Vishnus. Okay. Prabhupada ki jai.